Hello, welcome back to Rewatchers Council for season 2, episode 2. Some assembly required, and welcome back, Adelia Chambo. Missed an episode or so. Glad to have her back. Glad to have her at the controls. You might notice it's ran a little smoother. I don't know if anyone noticed. Yes, ran a little smoother. Adelia, how are you?
I'm doing good, Snark. How are you tonight?
Very good. First off, honest opinions on the episode.
I really enjoyed this episode. I mean, the whole concept truly creeps me out, but I enjoyed
Sure.
the episode a lot.
Yeah, the I think the episode's fine. It's not, this is a season where there's so many great episodes, and to measure it
Yeah.
up against those or whatever, it's
It's
not going to measure up, guys. Not going to measure up.
it's
Not
not
all
the
of them are
best
banked.
it's not the best episode I've ever seen, but it's not the worst either.
Yeah, the worst is coming, guys. Don't worry about that. All right, let's get into a little bit. Some assembly required. Original air date, Adelia, September 22nd, 1997. It's directed by old friend. I can't remember how many episodes this man's done now, but Bruce Seth Green. Yet another
Mhm.
episode for him at the helm. Written by, and I believe this is his only writing credit on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Ty King. Ty King has done
Okay.
things for 80s sitcoms like Family Ties, Newhart, classic, sure.
Okay.
Empty Nest. I don't know if you remember
Mhm.
Empty Nest, but that was the Golden
I
Girls
do.
spinoff. And of course, Growing Pains. I will say, uh, his IMDb, uh, whatever you call it, biography, must have been written by him. Very entertaining. I'd say
Okay.
probably more entertaining than the episode. But we'll go into what was the number one movie at this time, 1997. It's In and Out, Adelia.
In and out.
Yeah, this is the one where Kevin Kline plays the uh, the acting coach that's outed by his student at the Oscars. It's kind of like it mimics the Tom Cruise thing or whatever when he outed his drama coach from high school when he won his
Oh.
Oscar for Philadelphia. This is more of a comedy. It's Kevin Kline, I guess, is in it.
I
Yeah,
think you
it's,
mean
it's
Tom Hanks if you're talking about Philadelphia. You said Tom Cruise.
oh yeah, Tom Hanks. Sure. It's one of them. It's one of those Toms.
It's one of them. One of them.
America's dad. How about that? Now
Yeah.
probably America's grandpa. The number one song in the U.S. "Honey" by Mariah Carey, holding on to that spot.
I remember that song.
hmm Uh, Number one song in the UK, and get used to this because you're going to hear this quite often. "Candle in the Wind," the
Yeah.
1997 version, Elton John, turns out to be the most successful selling single of all time. I think maybe behind White Christmas, or it's definitely since like physical copies where it's
Yeah.
incredibly popular. Of course, came at a very set time in England. It eventually carries on through the States, throughout the world. People now think of that song before they think of the one from Goodbye America, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, which is a shame. They forget all about Marilyn Monroe's contributions to that song, I guess. But yes, "Candle
Yeah.
in the Wind." You're gonna hear it a lot said. All right. DVD synopsis time. It's a series of grave robbings leads to a science club member who is trying to create a girlfriend for his brother, whom he has just brought back from the dead. Pretty accurate.
Pretty accurate, yeah.
I would say a series of grave robbings. There's like there's like one grave robbing,
Well,
maybe two.
well, they got all three of those girls from the car accident, so
That's true. I would say that the Scoobies did almost as much grave robbing, at least grave snooping. Maybe grave
yes.
snooping is a whole different thing. Now, first off, that chosen one narration is back. It wasn't there for last week for the season premiere, but now it's narrated by the guy who actually said it in an episode. Giles is saying it from this point forward. I guess we could say Anthony Stewart Head. But
Yeah.
in the universe, he's Giles, all right? Fine.
Yeah.
Starting off in a graveyard, Natch, where Buffy's waiting for a vampire to rise. Like she had some previous intel, I guess. I don't know, somehow. Anyways, Angel finds her, tells Buffy it's a disorienting, waking up in a coffin. Adelia. More on that later. Turns out he's jealous of Xander from that dance at the bronze. Really, the only time the bronze is even mentioned in this episode. A bronze
Yeah.
a bronzeless episode. Buffy the Vampire Slayer is like, oh, okay, very good. Buffy says that her plan worked, making him crazy. They don't notice that the vampire is actually risen, though. Knocks Buffy and Angel. Buffy fights back, but lost her stake somehow. She does lose a stake every once in a while.
My favorite line in this episode came in this fight where
Hmm.
she goes, "I didn't come here to fight," and then the vampire attacks them, and then she goes, "Oh wait, yes I did."
Yes, very good. She grabs a conveniently laid shovel. Or sorry, the vampire does, and uppercuts Angel in the face.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care how undead you are. I don't know how you get up from that so quick as he does. Anyways, Buffy breaks the shovel, jabs the vampire with it. Rest in peace, or rest in dust, whatever it is, vampire. Then they go right back to continuing arguing. Buffy says, "What do you mean he's just a kid? Am I just a kid? What's the answer to that, Adelia?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes you are.
you're a kid. You are a child. You're a child in love with someone, we'll find out, is 225 years older than you. We'll find that
Mm-hmm.
out in this goddamn episode. Anyways, Angel walks away. Buffy follows, but of course, Buffy falls into yet another open grave.
Yeah.
Uh, Angel thinks maybe another vamp's risen. Buffy sees some tracks and a broken lady's shoe and says she was dragged from it. You know what I also noticed?
What?
No dirt.
No dirt. Yeah.
These guys dug up a 6 foot grave very immaculately. So congratulations to them.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Buffy and Xander walking on Giles, practicing some pickup lines. Adelia, as one does in the middle of the quad in
Yeah.
front of all the
This-
students. Yep.
My second favorite line was when Buffy said, "I didn't realize you were that enamored with that chair," or whatever she says. That was very funny.
She tells him to avoid words like amenable and indecorous, and to speak English, not whatever they speak wherever in. And then Giles just says England. So yeah. Buffy tells him to take her for Mexican food. Uh, you think that's a good first date food?
No.
No, no. Mexican food, of course, famously does different things to different people's body. But why take the chance? Why take the chance? And indeed, they figure out he wants to talk to Miss Calendar. She fills him in on last night's events. Giles is intrigued by the grave robbing, which is pretty gross. Buffy says the corpse, which I'm going to say a lot. I see when I start writing down the episode stuff,
Yeah.
I see the word corpse a lot. Meredith Todd, another girl that died around the same age as them. Gee whiz. Xander doesn't know her. Giles says to get Willow to look her up on the computer or thing, whatever he calls it, all the time. Still not used to computers. Rupert Giles. Now, it's the second week of class, but I'm just saying it's the second week of class because this is the second episode of the show. There's already a science fair, Adelia.
Yeah.
Like they have
That
11 dances
seems
a year and
that
a science
seems
fair to start things off.
very early for a science fair.
It seems pretty early. Willow has her picture taken by like a proto 90s dipshit. You go, of course, with the an unpopular kid wearing Hawaiian shirts and stuff like that. He starts photographing other girls as well. Find out his name's Eric after Chris tells him to knock it off. Chris, it turns out, seems to be Willow's main competition. She always seems to have competition in these things. Cordy doesn't believe that anybody should have anything to do with education at school if they don't want. I totally agree with her.
That made me laugh.
Her her science experiment, of course, the tomato, fruit or vegetable. And
Yeah.
if I knew that could have been a thing, I would have actually paid attention and maybe did a science fair for once in a while. Cordy has her
Yeah.
picture taken by Eric, and so does Buffy when she shows up to tell Willow about the bat signal. Eric tells Chris that Cordy would be perfect for us, which is creepy. Chris says,
Mm-hmm.
"Don't be an idiot. She's alive." Probably even as creepy, I imagine.
Yeah.
I imagine it's also creepy to
Yeah.
say that. Now, Chris is played by Angelo Spazzeri. He was in The Rookie, Sliders, Sabrina the Teenage Witch. He quit in 2006 or so to become a tour manager for rock bands. Unfortunately, no longer with us, Angelo
Hmm.
Spazzeri. Uh, Eric is played by Michael Bacall. Now, you'll notice a bunch of these movies have someone in common. I don't know why. I didn't find out why, but he was in Inglorious Bastards, Django Unchained, and Death Proof. So
Okay.
they all have a common thread there. But he was also a writer on Scott Pilgrim versus the World and 21 Jump Street the movie, and Just for Ferris, who's also on CSI. Just thought I'd mention that for good old Ferris. You know, absent Ferris as he is. Now, at the library, Willow starts looking up Meredith. Cordy comes in to ask for help on her science project. Willow just says it's a fruit. There you go.
Yeah.
Solved. Uh, Cordy says she would have asked Chris, but it would have brought back too many painful memories of Daryl. No one seems to pay attention. Willow finds out Meredith Todd died in a car accident with two other girls. They were part of the Fondren High Pep Squad. Okay? The
Hmm.
Fondren High Pep Squad. But in the pictures they pull up for the paper with them as in their Pep Squad gear, they all have a letter J on it.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they just say Johnson High or something stupid like that? Why did they have to come up with Fondren and then we couldn't match it up? J's fine. J is almost like it's a Eastern European F or something like that. Maybe that's what they thought.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
don't
get
know.
it. I don't get it. Anyways, they died on the way to a game. Cordy wonders why every conversation with the Scoobies has the word corpse in it. So yet again, I said the word corpse. Uh, Giles suggests it could be zombies. They plan on digging the other two girls' graves up, which is pretty gnarly. Buffy doesn't want Angel involved for some reason. Uh, Cordy unfortunately says she has a cheerleader practice. Xander warns her about the zombies eating her, and that's when we get a rule. A rule for the show going forward: zombies don't eat the flesh of the living.
Interesting.
Interesting. So, like the main thing that zombies do: eat the flesh of the living, especially brains. That's why I'd
Hmm.
always be safe. I'd always be safe. I'd never have to worry. Uh, yeah, they take that out of the equation from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So there you go. Back to the graveyard. Xander, Giles are digging. Will and Buffy are gabbing, eating as well. Xander tells him it would be faster if they helped out. Buffy tells him that she was raised that men dig up the corpses. Again, I say the word. Women have the babies, which is pretty traditional. It's the way I was brought up.
I mean, sure.
Buffy asks who Daryl is, so she actually was paying attention. Willow says he played football and that all the girls were crazy for him, but he died while rock climbing. Well, things. They finally reach the coffin. Giles and Xander are too scared to open it, so Buffy does. Oh, and then we cut to Cordy leaving practice, but she's being followed by somebody. Adelia. Oh my god. She
Hmm.
does the entire trope where the key falls. Somehow her keys bounce so far underneath her car she can't
Yeah.
reach it.
Yeah.
Yes. So she takes off. She takes off. She runs into a dumpster. We have Cordelia Chase dumpster diving. She waits around a while, sticks her head up, and who does she see? It's Angel. Uh,
Yeah.
but why is Angel wearing that cream colored coat?
I don't know.
That was as disturbing as this next part where Cody says, help me out. Oh, my skirt's stuck on something. And it turns out it's a human hand, Adelia.
Yeah, that was pretty gross.
Yeah, it's not cool. At the library, we found out both other graves were empty, not just poor Meredith. The gang knows Angel and Cordy are there. After some awkwardness, they fill Angel in. He says he knows and that they found some of them, meaning the parts of some of them, which is,
Hmm.
parts is not a great way to disgust people. Angel says that they must have kept some of the parts. Willow says they must have kept other parts to eat, which is nice. Giles wonders
Sure.
why they would dump the parts at the school. Buffy gives the obvious answer: they probably had classes. Angel says that whoever did it knew what they were doing. Giles says, "What student would know that?" Willow says, "She knows 5 or 6, including herself, that would know how to dismember a body medically." Which is nice. It's a nice skill.
Sure.
Yeah. Cordy Giltza.
I
Angela.
don't know why high schoolers would know how to dismember a body medically.
I don't know how 5 or 6 would. Maybe the one weirdo. Maybe the one weirdo where his dad is like the local mortician or something like that, right?
Maybe.
5 or 6, including herself. Why would she ever? Never mind. You know what?
I'm not gonna ask.
There's some things. All you have to say, oh, they're on the Hellmouth. Hellmouth, you get to learn these things, I guess. Maybe they had it in part of like junior high or something. Who knows? Anyways, at Chris's house, his mom is watching home movies of Daryl playing football, and then Chris leaves. That's all that scene is for some reason. At school, Xander finds mortician books and the paper with the 3 girls' picture in it. In Chris's locker, Buffy finds a cut together picture of a girl. In Eric's locker, I think the evidence is pretty clear who's been doing it, and they find out actually pretty quick. Now they set up a makeshift operating room. Chris and Eric are working on reanimating a corpse, you know,
Mm-hmm.
as teenagers do. Eric hangs up the pictures of Willow, Buffy, and Cordelia he took. Then school the next day, Buffy wonders why someone would build their own girl. Xander talks about how the more unattainable, the more attractive someone is. Another callback to the relationship really between the three, I guess. They wonder why Chris and Eric would do this. Buffy asks if they could actually bring someone back to life. Willow says, if it is, my science project is definitely coming in second place, which I also
Yeah,
thought was a good line.
that was a good line.
They run into Giles, who's been waiting for Jenny. He's gonna ask her out, and of course, in the typical Giles fashion, stumbles and bumbles his entire way through it. But then
Mm-hmm.
it's Jenny who just says, "Hey, we should go to the football game," and then you could tell me what you're going to talk about later and stuff like that. Which is, he gets kind of bailed out there, but still gets what he wants. Anyways, at a lab, Buffy lets Willow and Xander know that Chris and Eric both didn't show up for school. Adelia. She wonders if they actually did it and what the girl would be feeling. Xander says, uh, girls, technically, which was nice. Giles shows up and somehow, between talking with Jenny and getting to the lab, finds out that the police had found 3 heads in the dumpster. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, this is, guys, they did not have this information on cell phones back then. I can tell you that.
No.
Uh,
No.
Xander doesn't get it, and that he found the girls attractive enough. He says, but at least he's not as gross as Eric. Back at Chris's place, he and Eric argue over the next step. Eric tells Chris he knows what they have to do. Chris says he can't kill anyone. Then he tells someone else he can't. That person is his undead brother, Daryl. Adelia. Daryl says that he promised him that he wouldn't be alone. Eric says that if you take life to make a life, it's a wash, which, no, I was gonna say, which sounds good, but it does not sound good. That's not a very nice thing to
No.
say. Chris tells Daryl he could go out, but Daryl says people can't see him. Also, Daryl's another 35-year-old, 18-year-old.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it when I saw this guy. I swear to God, if he would have said that that's his undead grandfather, I would have said okay. I said, oh, that's his undead stepfather. Yeah, I get that. Anyways, Daryl played by Ingo Newhouse. Adelia, if you don't know the
Okay.
name,
I
I
don't.
don't I don't blame you at all. He was in, again, more for Ferris. He was in Jag and CSI. He was in The Rock, and he was also on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Turns out he's a former Army Ranger in real life. So there you go.
Hmm.
I'm sure all Americans thank you for your service. Ingo, I'm
Indeed.
Canadian. I'm Canadian, but even I say good job. He tells Chris She tells Chris, 3rd and long, seconds to go. Where do you throw? 3rd and long. What? A
It
little
makes
more
no
dramatic.
sense.
Yeah, well, it would make sense if he was played Canadian football, which only has
Yeah.
three downs. Maybe a little more dramatic to say fourth and goal. I have a feeling that Mister the guy who wrote the show maybe doesn't watch very many football games, but decided to add it in anyways. I don't
Maybe
get it.
not.
Maybe not. Anyways, Daryl points to the picture of Cordy. That's the head he wants for his future. I don't know, future bride, I guess. At the library, they figure out formaldehyde is why the other heads didn't work. They were starting to get 2 points, and they need to get a fresher head. Ugh. They split off, but Giles, for as much as he scolds Buffy about having a social life, decides he is going to stick around and keep his date with Jenny.
Yeah.
Pretty pretty rude stuff. Anyways, I don't think the kids cared at all. Buffy shows up at Chris's. His mom still watching Daryl's games on the TV. Like, all right, okay. Her kid is reanimating corpses. Her kid pretty smart, but she's
Yeah.
still in love with the guy who ran for a 97-yard kickoff return in a high school football game. It's like Al Bundy. Anyways, uh, she decides she's gonna make her way downstairs. No one stops her and takes a look. She sees the pictures and then hears a noise from upstairs. Then leaves through the open window just before old Daryl can grab her. So it's good timing for her. We go to the school again, and ideally, if we're gonna go to the school, where do you think we would possibly end up in a scene at?
The locker room.
The girls' locker room, of course. This time, Cordy is getting ready to go out on the field with the rest of the cheerleaders and cheer to cheer the Sunnydale High football team on with their terrific cheers of "Go Sunnydale, go!" Pretty awful. Anyways, turns out before she gets abducted. She gets abducted, Adelia, for the 3rd time in the last 4 episodes.
Yeah. This is
Yes,
a pattern with Cordy now.
yeah, she needs one of those alerts or something like that. It's happening far too often for her. But Buffy manages to find her really quick and satisfyingly kicks Eric in his face. Cordy thanks her, then runs off to the field because she's the apex for the cheerleader pyramid that they're having. It's like, all right, whatever. I do like how Buffy did also confronted the other two cheerleader girls, and it's like one girl giving her a little bit of shit, and then she's like, "Where is she? Like, come on, I'm gonna beat the hell out of you if you don't." Anyways, gets the information she needed. Then she hears some noise in there and automatically knows, oh, that's Chris. So he comes out of hiding. He lets Buffy know that he has to do all these things for Daryl. But Eric, after having a superhero basically kick him in the face, has already run back to find Daryl. They still plan to get a head for him. Poor Cordy's head. So they take off. I wish Ferris is here because the Sunnydale High School wear uniforms very similar to the Washington now Commanders. And
Yeah.
I was going to explain to everybody that the Washington Commanders is Ferris's favorite football team, and that he loves them. He loves them
No,
more
no,
than
no, no,
anything.
no, 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 no. No.
That's not true.
No. That's not true.
All right. Well, for more on Ferris's favorite football teams, including probably the Washington Commanders, good friends, better rivals. Let's get Rain Network the highlights. That's on Fridays. Tim and Caleb. Turns out Jenny loves football, and Giles scoffs at her when she calls it rugged. He says that he thinks that it's rather odd that a nation that prides itself on its virility needs to strap on 40 pounds of protective gear in order to play rugby. What do you have to say about
I
that, Adelia?
laughed.
Yeah,
I
pretty good.
laughed because it's true.
Yeah, I think it's been something that maybe someone who was writing the show wanted to say for a last time. Also, Jenny says two things. First, she says that football is America's national pastime.
It definitely is not.
Famously, it's not. And
Yeah.
baseball will remind you of that 162 games a year, just by one
Yeah.
team. One other team might not call it, one might not say it's a Canadian pastime. But yes, baseball famously their pastime. She also says that what they're on is a first date, and Giles says, did you say first date? And then she
Giles was
goes,
so funny.
yeah, she goes, you notice that, huh? So there you go. She's a very confident lady. Angel and Xander show up. Willow and Xander show up. Is Xander wearing the exact same jacket Angel was wearing earlier?
It
It
looked
looks
very similar.
incredibly similar. It's like, did this get mixed up? Does this get mixed up in wardrobe? I don't understand it.
Yeah.
I don't.
I don't
A.
either.
I don't understand it on Angel, especially. B. I don't even understand it on Xander. It's like
Yeah.
someone had a coat and they really wanted to show it off. I guess I don't know. Anyways, they tell them that nothing happened at Eric's except a pornography collection so prodigious it even scared Xander. Which I guess it's pretty remarkable. Then they
Yeah.
third wheel. Then they third wheel the couple. So there. Daryl's watching from under the stands. He sees Cordy and walks up to her when she's getting a drink at the in between the bleachers. Like,
Yeah.
why are you keeping the water there?
No
Well,
idea.
bad news for her, because as soon as the crowd cheers, she's grabbed again.
Mhm.
She's grabbed again.
Yep.
This poor girl. Anyways, I guess we can consider that 5 times. Sorry, 4 times in 4 episodes. It must be 4 times in 4 episodes now.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Anyways, they bring her back, which turns out is the old science lab for some reason. They keep saying it's an abandoned building. Like, it tells Cordy, go ahead and scream. It's an abandoned building. No one's going to hear you. Why do all the abandoned buildings in Sunnydale have power?
I don't know. And they said it's the abandoned science lab, so does that make it on campus?
That's what I was thinking too. Uh, yeah, I guess it would make sense where it was easy to put all the body parts and etc. But yeah, they just kept an old science lab around in a totally separate building with power in it. All right,
Yeah.
yeah, I guess
In
they had
fact, it
other.
has to be on campus for how quickly they all get there
They
at
get
the
there
end.
incredibly fast. I actually have that in my notes as well. It does not take long to get anywhere in this
No.
episode at
No,
all.
no, no.
Yeah, a little fishy, a little fishy. I guess it's the Hellmouth. They have other things they have to worry about, like how much their student population drops every single year. Anyways,
Yeah.
Eric fills Cordy in on the plan and gives her the Blofeld, and she starts screaming at Gran. Chris tells Buffy where to find them. She says, "Oh, it's at the old science lab." She tells him to find Will and Xander, tell them what's going on, then splits. Cordy trying to do the con on Daryl, saying, "Oh, she'd stay with him. That doesn't matter if you look like a zombie Frankenstein." He doesn't believe her. Eric getting that knife ready. I don't. That's not even a scalpel, right? I don't know what that knife is, but a huge
I don't
silver
know.
knife, and he just
Huge
putting it
knife.
over. Yeah, just putting it over the Bunsen burner. He says, it's good enough for government work or something like that. It's like, all right, whatever. Buffy busts down the door again, incredibly quickly gets there. Eric throws the knife at her. She grabs it, no problem. Trying to reason with Daryl, but he starts fighting her. They knock over again an open can of gasoline
Yeah.
that's in the lab,
I
conveniently in the lab.
yeah.
Don't get it.
I
I
don't
get
I don't get
maybe.
it.
All I'm thinking is maybe they're using they're using a generator and stuff like that. Like,
Generator.
yeah,
You do see Eric,
you
like,
hear that
pouring
generator.
the gasoline into something.
Yeah. Yes.
I don't know what that
At
was.
Yeah, it's not. You know what? It's a plot. It's a plot device. That's what it is. A
It's
plot
a plot
device
device. Yeah.
because as Daryl and Buffy fight, of course, the still lit Bunsen burner gets knocked over, setting the gasoline on fire into a very. It's not a huge fire though. This
Not
wasn't
at
a, like
first.
you don't get too scared at first for this fire. Anyways, Xander shows up. He runs over to Cordelia. The fire starts getting a little bit higher. Uh, Buffy's fighting Daryl. Buffy's having no trouble fighting this
No
zombie.
trouble.
She's beating the hell out of him. Like
Yeah.
you almost feel bad for Daryl. You don't feel bad for
You
Daryl.
don't feel bad for Daryl,
I
no.
do not condone zombies cutting up ladies to make lady friends. Okay, I'm gonna say that now, and I mean it. But fires going, tells Corey to get it out of there, so he runs over, and then instead of just cutting Cordelia loose and getting on their way, he just pushes the entire gurney out, which works or whatever. And it goes right through the fire and stuff like that. That's the only time the fire ever looks menacing. Anyways, the
Yeah.
fight continues. Buffy gets body slammed. Like finally, Daryl goes on the offense, body slamming Buffy so hard she's knocked senseless.
It looked like a pro wrestling move.
Yeah, no kidding. Like she took a bump. Figured she'd be fine. It's one of the easier bumps I think to take in wrestling. And she's
Yeah.
a superhero, but this one really, really did some damage on her. She is not silly. She can't. She's moving around. Oh my god. That's when poor Daryl grabs a desk and he's gonna like a student's desk and he's gonna crush Buffy's skull. And then Chris shows up though, yells at him to stop. That's when that's when for some reason he just looks at the headless corpse of a few different
Hmm.
ladies and decides I can be with you forever, and runs into the fire. And unfortunately, uh, gets toasted up this time. There's no reanimating
No.
a burnt up corpse, and that's why right here on the Rewatchers Council, I want to publicly come out pro cremation. Cremation, guys, the uh, the choice for not having zombies around. So there you go. Xander and Willow afterwards start moaning about not having any dates, or how can we not get a date? Cordelia walks up and starts to thank Xander and what it can ever if I could do anything, and then he just blows her off, then goes back to complaining about why people don't find them popular. Uh, Buffy is there comforting Chris. I figured that's not the
Yeah.
right thing to do at this, right? He did reanimate a human
No.
being and was complicit in kidnapping and almost murder.
And stole 3
Yeah,
people's
he's a
bodies.
he's a dirty grave robber. He's a dirty
Like,
grave robber guy.
we should definitely be having him arrested.
Yes, this is uncool. Uh,
Not cool.
I think if I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. Grave robbing's wrong,
It's very wrong.
and it's unclean. So Angel and Buffy walk around the cemetery at the end. That's when we find out Angel's 241 years old, and that he's jealous of Xander because he can eat human food with her and see her in the daylight and blah blah blah. Buffy says she doesn't look good in natural light, so there you are. And they just walk off together. And that's the end of the episode. Kind of a little. There wasn't
Interesting
much.
end.
Yeah, there wasn't much. There wasn't much to the end, but
Yeah. Interesting way to end an episode about grave robbing and reanimating corpses.
they do walk off hand in hand, so it looks like
They
maybe they're
do,
getting they're
yeah.
getting a little bit closer. So we have that. But yeah, there was no zing at the end. There was no nothing. It was just kind of like, oh, guys, here's the end of the episode. We got to our 47 minutes or whatever it is. The end.
Mhm.
Anyways, doesn't matter because that was episode 2. Some assembly required. Now, episode 3 is by many, and it should be an anticipated episode. It introduces 2 of your favorite characters in to the show for the first time.
I
We'll
can't wait for this because I have
we'll
a
see
feeling
them
I
a lot
know who
more.
those two favorite characters are.
Yes, they are here next week. School Hard is the episode. Uh, and if this one wasn't your favorites, this one is definitely way up there. Fantastic episode. Fantastic episode. Can't wait to talk about it with you, Adelia. Maybe with the other guy who couldn't make it
Yeah.
today, but and then sharing it with everybody else here on Rewatchers Council. Adelia, where will people find you other than this place, which is, probably the best one. But other than this place, where can people find you on the Let's Get Ready Network?
Well, you can find me and Snark over on the Highlights channel every Tuesday, 3 p.m. Pacific for Starting 11, our English Premier League recap show. You can also find me with Ferris on this channel Fridays, 8 p.m. Pacific for the Open Table. Ferris and I had an episode of the Scrum Down come out this week as well, so check that out on the Highlights channel. That's our Six Nations rugby recap show.
Speaking of rugby, right?
Speaking of rugby, yeah.
There you go. It all ties together. You can also, yes, you can find me here. You can find me on Starting 11. Let's Get Ready Network after Snark weekends, talking with Danny. I think we've been talking video games lately. I don't know what we're talking about this weekend. I'm going to guess video games, some kind of video games, but I have no idea. We'll figure that out in the coming day or so. And then also, we do have a video game actual centric program that was just started up. It's called Old Man Plays Doom After 30 Years. Not my favorite title. Not my favorite title, and
Danny named it.
I can't believe that Brazilian would name it something like that. What would have
I
been?
can.
What would have been a better name for it? Like, let's see, stunning man plays Doom after 30 years. I think that'd be a great name for the show.
I don't know, but the render of you that we use for those thumbnails is my favorite render that Alex uses.
Pretty good. Very good. Okay, guys. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and hope to see you next time. School Hard coming up next. Thanks everyone. Bye bye.